The latest Path of Exile 1 update, PoE 3.24 Necropolis, gave us but a tiny glimpse of all the quality of life grinding gear games could continue to introduce to PoE1. Whether it's new quality of life available due to innovations in PoE2, simple ideas they had while chugging away on the grinding gear games production line, or requests the community has talked about for years, I think it's safe to say absolutely everything and anything is on the table presently for PoE1. Especially when it comes to these quality of life features. But we like to keep it simple, so I've created this bingo card for the simplest, best, and most feasible PoE1 QoL additions possible, and I'd like to briefly dive into each of them right now. Being able to type /wiki in-game and have the game open up your browser to the requested page of the officially non-official PoE wiki would be an absolutely tremendous boon for the game. Sure, it's not the tooltip system being added into PoE2, which would be awesome in PoE1, but a bunch of work for those devs, but it's a start. One of the other games I play, Guild Wars 2, has this feature, and I use it all the time. Wouldn't you use something like this? Need to know what shock really does? Well, wiki it. Itching to understand the entirety of Ritual? Wiki it. Need you a list of every PoE1 update for some weird video series you keep working on in the background? Well, you can wiki it. I don't think it'd be a big lift, but it would have a big impact, much like cleaning off your dishes right after you finish your meal. Consider this, grinding your games. And might you consider clicking the like button and the subscribe button too if you enjoy my channel and its content? Thanks for helping me grow, and thanks to GGG for introducing us to the idea of an identify all feature in PoE2. They were totally the first to do this. How hard would it be to drop this into PoE1? Probably not too tough. This might be more of a philosophical disagreement, as discussed by both co-founders of the studio, Chris Wilson and Jonathan Rogers. They enjoy players feeling the weight of every identify, having that double dopamine of finding an unidentified item on the ground, picking it up, and then identifying it. While for most players this is likely the case, for the players with the most playtime, this double dopamine effect likely occurs quite rarely. Here's what I mean. Players for which identification matters, the vast majority of the player base with the lowest playtime, they likely identify rare items that pertain to their build, same with uniques, although they won't understand when a unique has an absolutely rad role most of the time. For the other set of the player base, those who blast endgame for hundreds of hours every league, they filter out most rares, usually don't care about IDing them, and only get excited when some powerful uniques drop with compelling modifier rolls. They are desensitized to cool rares, just as most of the general public no longer blinks at moments like Blood and Cheese in House of the Dragon. As someone who does play a ton and still does filter in and ID rares, I enjoy identifying them and like that process. Though I understand why some enjoy the approach other ARPGs are taking with items just being identified from the get-go. In a game like PoE though, with item filters as powerful as Filter Blade, if this were possible, min-maxers could erase most of the items on the floor with ease. That's a problem, and this is a tricky thing, but I would still like an identify all from an NPC or just by using a shortcut with ID scrolls as long as you have enough to ID your entire inventory. That, or I can just wait for PoE2, in which most items should matter once more. But more on that another time. This third QoL feature is probably the simplest and the most finger-saving of all these additions. Grinding your games, please allow us to apply maximum quality to items, whether they be armor, weapons, or maps, whatever, with a single click as opposed to 4 on white and 20 on rare items. If we have the currency available, it's time to let this happen. Almost everyone always goes for max quality on maps nowadays. This would save so many fingers, including mine. This would free me up for at least 10 more years of PoE down the road. It's totally worth saving me and plenty of others as consumers of all things Path of Exile. Trust me, you don't want us flocking to the autoplay games or forcing everyone to play Righteous Fire, right, GGG? Seriously though, this might be my most wanted feature ever right now. I've not sought for something like this since I landed home from 2 weeks in Hawaii and needed to make a chocolate chip pancake. Yeah, it's weird, no pancakes there. This next one might be a bit tough, but my goodness would it be wonderful. Grinding Gear games allow us to set color filters for our map modifiers, just as we do with loot. For example, if reflect in any way, shape, or form appears on a map as a modifier, I'd love for that text to turn red or green or some other ungodly color so I know what I'm stepping into. I love being able to scan stuff in PoE 1. That's what the game has become at this point. This would be such a lovely little addition, but it might be a good amount of work. This would likely save countless characters. It probably would have saved Zizaran many hardcore runs over the years, but as the saying goes, the best time to implement map modifier filters was yesterday, the second best time is now. Here's one just for me and any other challenge beasts out there. Allow us to have 2 challenge totem variations, one that emits light as they do now, and one that doesn't emit any light. If you like to stack these bad boys in your hideout, the light demolishes the FPS of my machine, and I've got a 4090. This would be just splendid. Now for just the quickest of moments, I'd like to focus on a few of the extremely difficult QoL features many of us PoE players would love grinding your games to implement, but they just seem way too hard to actually get into the game. First up, the death log. It need not be as in-depth as Dota 2's death recap, it can seriously be as basic as last Epoch's implementation of a death screen. I know the reasons why they've not done it. We've heard they want to do things at 100%, not 90%. And if they cannot get all the right info in front of players, they'd rather not do it. I say do it like last Epoch and help a ton of players out there who struggle with the most basic of PoE defenses and explanations. That includes me. Second, a better internal loot filter. Why do Divine Orbs and Orbs of Alteration have the same font, color scheme, and sound when they drop in the internal PoE1 loot filter? I am unsure the reasoning behind grinding gear games not doing a simple pass, but they should have one dev, one designer, maybe one of their awesome community managers, just do a once over and ensure some of the most historically valuable items make some wacky noises when they drop. I'm talking Divine Orbs. I mean Mage Bloods. How about Squires? Or, of course, a Mirror of Kalandra. Third, an improved trading system, which will be arriving first with PoE1 sequel, would be a stellar but likely out of reach in the short-term QoL improvement. Additionally, PoE2 will have an in-game currency trading market, so you'll be able to quickly grab the currency you need without tabbing out of the game or going to a second monitor. That's sweet, but it's yet another PoE2 implementation. Now, I know this is a super PoE1 focused video, but I'm sliding a fast PoE2 player QoL suggestion into it. Instead of all text in windows being center aligned, why not left aligned? Look at these amazing examples put together by a community member. They're beautiful. I know it's not classic PoE, but I think it's far more readable. We're in for another 4-month League Exiles, but the tale of Necropolis was juicy and heartbreaking. See the full breakdown now, and make sure you let me know which QoL you'd like to see in 3.25. Talakura, Exiles.